Everybody, Coach Tom here. I'm sitting here with Coach Gary from the five-star national team, the 2028 team. What's the name of that team, Gary?
So it's five-star National Mid-Atlantic 2028.
2028. So Gary and I go back a long ways. I hate to tell you how long, really, but back in 1989, I was coaching with the Yankee Rebels in the Metro League, and I was their hitting and first base coach. Gary was one of the players that tried out and made the team, and what a whirlwind season that was. Tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was probably one of the greatest summers I ever had, to be honest. That was an incredible journey in baseball. Learned a tremendous amount of baseball between yourself and the Palmer brothers.
And Coach Bob. Yeah.
Coach Bob. We had a really, really good team. I know we ended up with basically second in the nation, losing to Norwalk, California, which was Nomar Garcia-Perez team.
There was two MLB guys.
I think they had Valdez. Oh, they also had Mark Newfield, who was the first-round pick from Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
That right out of high school, and they were basically from that Huntington Beach. I think it was that Los Angeles area. To this day, produces a ton of baseball players. That summer was incredible. We had a great run. Winning, I think we won the states and then went to regionals. Eventually went to the nationals. I think there was 12 teams left. We beat Puerto Rico national team,
beat their national
which
team.
Was incredible.
Yes.
I think Miami along the way, teams from Midland, Ohio, I believe, and eventually just ran into a buzzsaw with Norwalk.
Right,
but it was
at
incredible.
The very end, yeah.
Yep.
And it was a long day of doubleheaders and a lot of hours. And I talked to the players after that as we've all gotten older, and a lot of them said that, I said, do you think we just got tired, or what was the situation? And they said, no, everybody eventually said, no, they were just better than us. They were really, really good. But when you have 2 or 3 or MLB guys on there, I mean, that makes a huge difference. But from that team, we had 9 players off that team play some level of pro ball. So from independent to A to high A, low A, all the way up, I think double A. I don't know if anybody made it to triple A. And then some of those players have went into that industry. So it was, that was really
Scott
good.
Sharp is in the organization with Kansas City Royals.
He's with there.
He was our shortstop, and he's high up.
He's still up there.
Still there.
Yeah.
He was a scout, I think, for 12 years, and then I think he eventually went in this Kansas City system, and he's one of the higher ups there right now.
Yeah. I know he's up in administration level. Yeah. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to talk today. You pitched and played outfield. You're coaching a lot, and we got back together a couple years ago, and I'm training your son Gavin with hitting, and that's went real well. And he's getting ready to play at Loyola, and he played last year for a different head coach. You were part of that coaching crew, and now he'll be at Loyola and then play for you this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I know you've had some good talent come out, and I know you feel you're going to be real competitive this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it'd be a good time to talk about mental approach versus physical approach. And a lot of kids are working out now. They got trainers, hitting coaches, a lot going on with athletics now with players. But I feel like when I looked into it, we thought about the mental approach. And even when I was coaching with Bob and Joe, with you back in 89, 90, we did discuss mental approach, but when you really delve into it, it just seems like there's a lot more to it than just the physical approach of it. And I think that really gets lost with a lot of young players and coaches. So from a hitting standpoint, before you even get in the box, let's talk about a lot of aspects of what you feel is important. So.
Okay, so I mean, to me, one of the, and I talk to my son about this all the time, driving to practice, driving to games, driving home from that. There's certain things. There is a physical side, there is a mental side, especially in baseball. Baseball is a failure sport, right? So you can 70% of the time you're failing, and that's considered a high-level baseball player, right? So of all sports they picked as a youth, you're picking a sport that's a failure sport, right? So mentally it is challenging. So one of the things in life that I've used, even in work and on the baseball field, I use preparation plus opportunity equals success, meaning. And that preparation, meaning you have to have your preparation, And then when you meet the opportunity, you'll be successful. You'll never be successful if you're not prepared, right? So being prepared and preparation there's two sides of that. It's the physical side and the mental side.
Correct.
And we can get into the physical side, and that's your forte. That's the mechanical side of hitting.
Right.
The mental side is a completely different approach, but there's different ways to look at it. And one of the things that I try to tell my son is to keep things simple, right? So keep things simple. So I try to stress the process over results, right? So I watch a lot of baseball. I watch baseball, read baseball articles, watch things on YouTube, watch clips of baseball all the time. One of the things that stuck with me was Sean Casey played for the Indians. He was a left-handed hitter, high average, high contact hitter, and also Tony Gwynn, separately, has also talked about this. They talk about the process over results, meaning the key is to try to keep things simple. If you keep things simple, then you have more comfort level, which then increases your confidence, which then increases your success as a hitter when you step into the box. So I try to stay with that formula, but it's not. But what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? So the issue is, it's trying to staying simple means, being prepared and. When you get in that box, like even when the on-deck cycle starts, so it's seeing the ball, right? It's being relaxed, taking deep breaths, seeing the ball, having your vision, and then going from there when you step in. I think it starts when you're on the on-deck circle and what you're doing, and your preparation going into the batter's box. So they talk about different approaches as far as. Tony Gwynn said, I believe he said, if you can do all things right when you're in the batter's box, you have a higher percentage of being successful, right?
Sure.
So some people say, are you supposed to, do you want to hit a ball in a certain area? Most, I think especially at the age group that we do, like pretty much 15U, I think the approach is hunt fastball, right? So I think it's hunt fastball, and then if you want to have an approach, and I think even Sean Casey and Tony Gwynn were big on this, it's middle out. So it's hunt fastball, look to go middle oppo.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely stress all the time, because if you're willing to do that, then you're not out on your front side, you're not lunging for the ball. If you're working on hitting the ball middle out, you're going to stay back, be more patient. A lot of players think that if you do that, you still can't attack or pull the ball, but yet you can, because that's an automatic reflex that you go back to, versus just thinking, oh wow, I'm going to try to hit everything off speed. No, you just hit the outside fastball, but go with it. If you're right-handed, you go to left field. You're left-handed, you go to right field. Opposite. So right-handed to right field, left-handed to left field, and that approach seems like your higher level hitters will carry a better average because they're willing to do that. So I think one of the big things that players miss and coaches is at the college level and the pro level, they'll do a lot of pitching research, seeing tendencies. Like we talked earlier about arm slot, and if the arm slot changes, does the pitch change? If they're throwing fastballs, are they 3/4 over the top? Usually a lot of guys want to drop down a little bit to throw something off speed because they can get more movement out of it. Talk about spin, picking up the spin. I was watching the game last night, and they were talking about, as a pitcher from Palmer's standpoint, at twilight or when the light's changing, the players can't pick up the spin as well. So he'd be more apt to throw off speed then. Once the lights set in and everything, then you really had to pick and choose your spots. Because if you miss at that level, maybe they're not going to hit it out, but they're going to hit it hard. And, the pitcher wants to keep you off balance. Also, in warm-up, when a pitcher's warming up, you can watch as a hitter, if you can, or if you can get film on them, to see that day, hey, are they struggling with their certain pitch? You watch the pros plenty of times. They'll go 2 or 3 innings where they can't even spot their fastball. So a lot of them will be throwing a changeup, maybe something split fingered, something off speed that they can throw for a strike. And at that level, probably by the 2nd or 3rd inning, the pros are going to pick up on that. and they're going to go, look, man, he's throwing everything's off speed. He can't spot his fastball. So they're just laying off the fastball, and then they're looking for something off speed, and that's, you know, one of their big approaches, and that's their mental aspect of that alone. What are your feelings on pregame? I know you're big into prep.
Yeah, I think the more you can control, the more comfort level you have, and then ultimately the more confidence you'll have, which will equal success. So I think baseball is a game of inconsistencies, right? So you have to control as much as you can, right? With the things you can control, obviously effort and attitude, right? So you can control how much time you put in on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, as far as how much tee work you do, how much time you spend in the batting cage, how much time you spend, you know, hitting off-speed pitches, how much time, you know, it just in a tee in general. Just, and this is what you'll get into is moving the tee different heights, moving different locations, trying to let the ball travel, being comfortable hitting, waiting on the ball to travel to hit it out opposite field, trying to get, getting your hands in a certain spot, location, on an inside pitch, getting your hands out in the front. Those things you can work on a daily basis. You can control how much effort you put in. So your lower half. So when you get in the batter's box, you might only have, say it's our level, we might play like double headers on Saturdays, double headers on Sundays, but you might only get up twice because of the time limits or the games are shorter. And
tournaments are set
right.
that
So
way
you might only get 2 at-bats a game, and you're asking a kid to go 500 every game. You 1 for 2, right? That's a hard thing to do. And if you have, basically, they might only get 5 or 6 swings a weekend that are actually like pitches that they're going to swing at. So when you have to make those 5 or 6 pitches count, which you have to be prepared fundamentally, mechanically. So when you do make that, your muscle memory, you're making good swings. But also challenging is the mental aspect of that as well, because you can do all those things correctly, but if you can't see the ball or you can't pick up a pitcher's pitch, basically, I think they say if it's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, I think you have 0.4 seconds to react to that in major leagues. So they say,
They say a blink of an eye.
So in the batter's box, you have to pick up, is it a fastball? Is it a curveball? Is it a slider? Is it a changeup? Then you have to pick up, is the ball high? Is the ball low? Is the ball inside? Is the ball outside? And then you have to decide, is it going to cut? Is it going to cut? Is it going to cut? Is it going to tail away?
And all that in 0.04 seconds.
And you blink in 0.4 seconds. So the question then is, not only that, you have to decide, am I going to swing or am I not going to swing? So a lot is going through, but the more you're prepared, I think if you can, once you have that mental, the physical or the mechanical aspect of it, that should come second nature when you get to the box, right? So
that should just be natural.
So if you're thinking about your mechanics when you're in the box, you've already lost.
Big trouble.
You're in big trouble, right? So you're setting yourself up for failure at that point. But if you have that preparation, and then you have the opportunity to, and I think the key is like Sean Casey said. He had a really good high batting average against, I think it was Greg Maddux, Randy Johnson, and some of the top pitchers, right? Some top high averages. And he said, don't psych yourself out if it's a really good pitcher, right? Like if you're going in there and you know this guy's a great pitcher, once the ball releases his hand, his attitude was, it's just me and the baseball now. So don't worry about the pitcher. It's me and the baseball. So you practice you and the baseball all the time. So he's like, just pick up the ball, have good vision. And the key to that is being relaxed when you get in there, taking deep breaths. I think he had like a 3-step process. It was like, keep it simple, be easy, and hammer the baseball. And keeping it simple was being relaxed, taking a deep breath, and then having vision, like turning your vision on. The key is the vision, right? And and you have to be relaxed to do that. And he's saying that starts on the on-deck circle. He used to keep an index card, and he used to write those 3 things down. And he would look at it, and when going into the batter's box, like a lot of times these kids get in the batter's box and they come out and they're like, they're not ready to hit. So the key is if you're not ready, call timeout, take a deep breath, step out, get in that box. And the key is being relaxed and seeing the baseball. It's like see baseball, hit baseball.
That whole thing is the mental aspect.
100%.
Because if you're not there, you could be physically prepared to the nth degree, but if your brain is not right getting in that box and you're overthinking, to me, you've got to go in and it's got to be natural. You just have to react. You can't be thinking. Now, you could think, well, okay, I'm in a fastball count, but if you do your research and find out, does this guy like to pitch backwards? Is he throwing all speed in a fastball count? And if you're mentally prepared, the physical part, I think, will just take over. I just think a big part of the game, the mental aspect of what's going on, is not I would say, referenced or researched enough from coaches to the fact that you think, too, and they've got limited ability, but once you hit college or you're in the pros, their ability to use film and to focus and see what pitchers are doing is a big deal. And I think that's one thing that the MLB guys have that college and younger players don't have the ability to get film on pitchers and to break it down. But colleges do, but MLB is real big on that.
Correct. And I think at our level, you might see the same pitcher twice in a summer, right? So even that, you're basically seeing different pitchers, different arm slots, and pretty much every weekend or every game.
Right.
So
that's really tough at your level.
It's very hard. And you don't get enough bats. So like a lot of kids, they'll go 0 for 4 and they think they're in a slump. So or they're like 1 for 10 for the weekend, and they think they're in the slump. But they're not playing, not getting 600 at bats or 550 at bats, right? So they may get 150 at bats this summer, but the approach has to be, trying to keep it simple. You have to be mechanically sound. That's the given, right? You have to be as mechanically sound as possible.
And that's all part of the preparation.
That's all part of the preparation, right? So but the mental side, I think if you keep it simple, the approach that I like to tell the kids that I teach is hunt the fastball, and then adjust in, right? So like go middle out and adjust in. So and react to what's coming in. And I think that's a good approach on. And like until you have 2 strikes. Once you have 2 strikes, it changes to then you are trying to put the ball in play.
Yeah, and that's a good point because a lot of good hitting coaches, a lot of good coaches will tell players, look, your first 2 swings are yours. So, your first 2 hacks, you take them, try to do something with the ball. You want to try to hit it out, whatever your first swing is, go ahead. Second one, you might be a little more, hey, I'm going to hit the ball hard, maybe not try it out. That third swing, once you have 2 strikes, you really want to make contact and put the ball in play. If you just hit something weak or strike out, it's really mentally for you. It's tough. Also for the team. We were watched the Orioles last night. They had bases loaded. I thought, wow, it's over, and they got Detroit got them. They got them out of it, and then they scored late in the game and beat us by 2. And you're thinking, wow, why didn't they try to bunt? Just put the ball in play.
Yep.
And they didn't. So it goes all the way up to the major league level.
Absolutely. Yep. I think, and then once you're comfortable, once you get to the point where you are comfortable and you do have some confidence, then you can start thinking a little bit more as far as situationally, right? So then it's pitch counts and situational, right? So then at that point, like say you got a guy on second base, right? And you want, and the second baseman's holding the runner. That gap's open there on the right side. You want to hit the ball behind the runner on that side to move that runner, right? Hopefully to get him a score, at least get him to third base. You can start thinking that way situationally, and then your preparation in the week and your time coming in up to that point, you can wait on a ball and try to put it on that side and hit it out the middle out, right? So
and if you practice too, you could you think, well, look, we got a guy on second, we got no outs, 1 out. Even 2 outs, let me try to hit the ball behind him if it's a tight game. You're right, second baseman might be darting in or playing a little game with you with the second baseman. Shortstop at times, you can hit the ball, even if you don't hit it hard, but you get it through that hole, most likely that runner's going to score. So if you work on that technique of getting off the plate, letting the ball travel, forcing your hands a little bit, getting your hands ahead of the barrel, you'll be able to go oppo.
Right, and then it's pitch count situations, right? So it's basically it's like a card game, right? So basically your approach changes based on the count. So if you're 0-0 or if you could be aggressive, you have a more aggressive approach.
2-0, 3-0.
Exactly, right.
Early in the game too, a lot of players will take that walk, 3-0, but early in the game is probably a great time for a lot of young hitters to hunt that fastball on 3-0. Everybody's looking for a 3-1.
Right.
But 3-0, you're almost getting a BP fastball because you pitched, you're struggling trying to get that strike. And mentally for the pitcher, man, he walks first or second batter, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm already in the hole. Where, okay, they get you 3-0, they get you 3-1, and then maybe get you to pop up or ground out, but that 3-0 pitch that they're just trying to spoon feed in there, early in the game, I think coaches should cut the hitters loose to teach them to be aggressive and to try to drive that ball.
Absolutely. When I coach third base too, so and I always give the green light on 3-0, and I specifically tell them every time they look at me, I say, green light, look for a certain pitch and a location.
And if it's there,
if you're looking fastball and you're looking at that location, be aggressive and drive the ball. Sure. If it's not there, if we're throwing a curveball, you're looking fastball. If it's not in location, let it go. They have to throw you 2 more strikes.
Sure.
And you still could be aggressive on the next pitch, but it's just maybe slightly less aggressive, right? It's being able to use your vision,
yep.
And that's part of the mental aspect of being relaxed and taking a deep breath and to adjust to that.
Right.
And the more you can do that, again, the more relaxed you are, the more comfort level you have, which then gains your confidence, which then equals success in that box. And I think, and when it's 0-0 counts or you have a hitter's count, I think like Rod Carew used to say, the fastball was designed to basically go in the strike zone. So you should be hunting fastballs. So constantly. Because the four seam is one of the easier pitches to pick up.
Yes.
And it's coming down, it's a downward plane, and they're designed, the fastball is designed to stay in the strike zone, where the off-speed pitches are not. So why would you not hunt the fastball?
Yeah, and its fastball's thrown like over 70% of the time, and the four seam's thrown like probably 70 to 80% of the time of the fastball. So they maybe have a cutter or a two seam, but the four seam's thrown the most.
And different approach to Todd Helton, I think they said he had like a calm aggression. So they said he had like a calm body in the box, but
right.
mentally he was aggressive.
Right.
So it was like this calm aggression, calm body, quiet, yep. But mentally aggressive, right? So that was like his approach.
But to me, that's a real good approach.
Yep.
Because
again,
I feel like most of the time, what hurts hitters is really not the physical part of the game. It's definitely the mental part.
100%. Because even at that level, like Jackson Holliday when he first came up, to get to that level, they're doing something right mechanically, right? So to get to that level, they are able to play Major League Baseball. So they're already very good at their craft and what they're doing, but they all go in slumps at some point, and especially when you're young and you're trying to figure things out. But and the baseball players won't say they're in a slump. They'll never. But the approach is, they'll work their way through it. But a lot of it is it's a very mental game, and there's a lot of inconsistencies, and there's a lot that you have to work on mentally to get yourself right. And sometimes it's easier to say it, but practicing it's different. But if you have the same fundamental approach to it, I think if the more you can be consistent in your approach mentally, I think you have a better, like I said, it's process over results. So that process of having that same consistent approach, it's as simple as arriving to the game the same time, right?
Yeah.
Doing your same workouts the same time, right? Like the same way, the same routines. You do, like if it's
having
your pregame,
right?
Having a good schedule,
yeah.
Right? Which also leads into your sleep patterns, your eating patterns, things like that.
I want to talk about all that.
But if you can do things consistently the same, and then have that same approach, it will help you. That process will eventually, process over results, and that process will give you the chance to be comfortable, and that comfortability will help you to gain some confidence as it works for you, and then will ultimately help you to be successful. And that's, I think, a lot of that is they say, keep it simple, and it's. And that process is, part of it's the vision, right? It's just being relaxed to be able to see the ball, trying to pick up the pitch, and then letting your muscle memory and your mechanics just take over, but without thinking about that because you've already prepared for that.
Correct. That's some really good points. I think to the younger players, they want to emulate the older guys, but they don't realize. I think now with social media and everything, they can go on and listen and hear how much time and effort they put in from the mental side. All the players back in the day, we had guys that were a lot of guys out of shape, and you talk about Babe Ruth used to eat hot dogs and smoke cigars, maybe even drink beer, right? And in the dugout and stuff, crazy thing. Well, none of that's going on. I mean, all the guys are, I would say 90% or more of the MLB guys are in shape, and they're pushing that all the time. And now with analytics and they're looking at different aspects of, besides analytics and hitting, and what's the best way to work out. A lot of people ask me now, why is there so many arm injuries from a physical aspect and Tommy John? And my big feeling on that is the older pitchers, Glavine and Maddox and even Palmer, they were pitchers and they would change speeds. Now everybody coming out of high school, if you're not throwing like 90 plus, they don't even want to look at you or talk to you. So it's all speed generated, and with that, that's maximum effort in your throw and maximum effort on those ligaments and tendons. And then with working out on top of it, I think that's where the damage is being done.
I think, yep.
Max, constant, max effort, max effort. You do anything to the max, no matter what it is, it eventually breaks down. Mm-hmm. Any machine, you run an engine full blast all the time, it breaks down. I think that's what's happening with arms. There's too much focus on just velocity. And Jamie Moyer, well, they were saying at the end of his career, his fastball was 82 or something, yet he was still getting people out. And that was all about changing speeds and location. Yeah. And I think that emphasis of that, the mental part of moving the ball around and changing speeds versus throwing it full blast every single time. Batista, he's throwing 102 miles an hour?
Yeah.
And, the Orioles have really taken a beating with pitchers and arm injuries. And again, I think it's that idea of that high velocity coverage.
And that's 100%. I mean, it's even at our level, the kids, the perfect game tournaments, PG tournaments, one of the major stats they keep is their velocity, right? So the pitcher throws and it's the top velocity, right? So that's all you see. Now that pitch could be 100 miles an hour and it could be off the top of the backstop and it's going to register as a 100 mile an hour pitch. But I think what we're doing is a lot of the metrics are trying to develop velo, velocity, and not a pitcher, right? So it's all geared to the throwers instead of pitchers, right? Yeah. So, and that's a whole nother mental aspect of the game. Again. as far as learning how to like Greg. I'd rather have Greg Maddox than someone that throws 100 miles an hour, right? A guy that throws low 90s or even upper 80s that's able to control pitches and keep batters off. The timing. It's all about keeping the timing off and then control. And I think we're doing, even at our level, it's velo, and Tommy Lasorda, I think, said it best. He said, "It doesn't matter how hard you throw a ball for, right?" So that was like one of my favorite quotes from Tommy Lasorda.
That's a great quote.
And I try to tell my kids the same thing. I mean, if you could throw at our level, you could throw 85 miles an hour as a 15-year-old, but if you're throwing 3 out of every 4 pitches for a ball and you're putting runners on. And that's another approach to baseball. And you have to recognize that. So if the pitcher's losing, if they're just a thrower and they're not finding a strike zone, and you get yourself into a 3-1 count or a 3-0 count, and you get yourself up on the count, at that point, that pitcher has to throw a strike over the plate somewhere. And if you're hunting that fastball at that point, that's when your average is going to go up. And that's the mental side of being a batter versus the mental side of being a pitcher. And trying to actually be a pitcher versus just being a thrower. And I think you'll see that you can get to the major leagues or the minor leagues being a thrower. I mean, being a thrower, but to be successful, you have to learn how to become a pitcher.
No doubt. So I'll see what some other points that we want to touch on. Let's see. Oh, okay. So a couple more. So I heard A-Rod talking about. Pitchers fiddling with the ball, playing around with the ball. He said a lot of times you got to realize you could grab a ball and feel for fastball. The more time they're taking, the more they're moving the ball around in the glove. He always used to look at that as that something off speed was coming, and he said that's what worked for him. And the guy could hit. And you're thinking, these little secrets that you can pick up, and that was a big one. And they talked about having a soft and hard focus. So having a soft focus on where the ball's getting released and knowing that if a pitcher has a tendency to drop down, it's going to be probably off speed. When they're up higher, they're throwing more fastballs. And then hard focus when the ball really gets into the attack zone. So you're not staring real hard and burning your brain out when the ball's released. Soft focus on the release point, and then hard focus once the ball's in the zone. And again, that's a mental, you physically have to do it, but the mental approach to it, instead of just staring or worrying about looking at the ball, look at the pitcher's tendencies again. If he's playing around with the ball, most likely it's going to be off speed. If he's quick to it, Now, we used to be able to steal signs when that was legal and fun to do, and that was gamemanship. Now, we weren't using telescopes or, binoculars, whatever. We do that during the game, and there were some real good coaches at doing that. But now they've taken that whole aspect out to with the electronics. But that was, I guess, all around.
I remember if you were on second base. You saw if you were able to pick up the sign, Yankee was fastball. Let's go Yankees.
Yeah.
Rebel was curveball. Let's go Rebels. We'll do it, right? That's what we used to use, right?
That's what we used. Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked. And
I don't know why you couldn't go. But they could go back to that.
Yeah.
But I guess the Astros they're doing beating the drum.
Yeah.
Or, and then they had some kind of device on them.
To me personally, once you start using video or start using electronics to try to steal, that's crossing the line. I think if you're on the field and the catcher's giving you the signs and they're not changing them up, I think that's part of
we used to
the
even
game.
we'd even teach that when the guy was on base, the easy way to see it is if the catcher didn't block it well, and you got young eyes, you could see that sign from second base.
Right.
And then it was nodded, and that's what you guys did.
Absolutely.
And another way to do it was, and this can still be done in, I don't know if they're using electronics yet in college, but in high school and with what you're doing, if you just adjust your helmet, okay, or say anything, it's breaking ball. If you don't say anything when you're in second or third, then look fastball.
Yep.
Just to simplify it,
Yep.
because the players, you got to get in the box. The first thing is you better know, getting into the box to me was the first thing you got to know is how many outs.
Mm-hmm.
Before you even get the sign from your third base coach, you better know how many outs there are.
Right.
You better know how many players are on base and where they are, because you might have a slow guy on first and you're a burner, you hit a ball in the gap and you're running up his back. Maybe he's not getting to third and you're frustrated, so you better know who's on base, how fast they are. And this is stuff that young players never think about. The biggest thing is they're just trying to hit the ball most of the time.
Right.
But if you know those things, it's just going to make the game easier and slow it down for you.
Exactly.
And I think that's another thing with the young guys as well.
So, and even going back to back to the approach of stepping in the batter's box and just being part of taking your physical preparation and into your mental preparation when you're in the actual batter's box. I know with these throwers that throw very hard and fastballs, a lot of times they say when the batter usually misses at the pro level, they're missing underneath the ball.
Correct.
So they're saying, and maybe you can talk more about this too, is they say to look at the top of the balls to adjust your swing a little bit.
I teach that a lot, because if you look at strikeouts, very few times our hitters, over the ball. They're always under the ball. And that has to do with the fact with that four seam that the ball's rising a lot. And even on a ball that drops, if you still look at the top of the ball, because you're going to be dropping the barrel to the ball, you're going to catch it. And so a lot of the players now, especially everybody I train, we work on that constantly. I have one hitter right now that is a bottom of the ball, because that's different in his vision. But everybody else, if I have 100 students, 99 of them are top of the ball hitters, mm-hmm. and that's the norm. So he's really different. But that's his father had complained to me about him hitting ground balls all the time, and I said, well, where are you looking at the ball? He says, middle. And I said, really? Okay. I said, well, let's look at top, and then it was even worse. Mm-hmm. I said, go to bottom. And then he's hitting line drives, and his father says to me, I've been coaching him for eight years now. I was his coach of his team, and I couldn't figure out that he needed to hit the bottom of the ball. He goes, I feel like an idiot. I said, well, if you don't research and have, the knowledge behind it, then yeah, you're going to feel that way. It's, I said, but it's not that big a deal. And I said, but just a lot of players don't think about that. They just see the ball, hit the ball. They don't think about what part of the ball should I be attacking. And the pros, a lot of pop-ups. And I don't think that a lot of times they had that theory going into it. I just think they look middle and a lot of them say about trying to cut the ball in half or 3/4 to create backspin. But, top of the ball, you're not going to actually catch the top. You're going to pretty much hit it, usually flat your swing out a little more. And you're going to have a flatter swing looking at the top of the ball. So you're going to hit more line drives, which is real important because then there's less time for the defense to get under the ball to catch it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that theory is excellent.
And also, like, going to the approach when you're going into the batter's box, looking at pitchers on the mound, right? So if you have a right-handed pitcher, and a lot of times, depending on where that like if you're watching that pitcher warm up, or even in the game, right, charting their pitches or watching what they're doing, and I think that's big that we get away from is I think what we did. We charted pitches, right?
We charted all pitches.
All pitches. Everybody that was on the bench, everybody charted it. It wasn't just, so we would chart the pitches down to.
And we had the pitchers do it most of the time.
Absolutely.
And it was usually like 3 of them.
Yep.
So they would sit there.
And we get away from that.
That was their job.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things that made him brilliant.
Yep.
I mean, because we were so far ahead mentally.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
We played teams that had just as much physical talent.
Right.
And we were really good. I mean,
Right.
we had some of the best players. I mean, we had, 90 guys strapped for that team?
Yep.
I said, it's, that part of what you have to deal with now because there's so many
Yep.
club level and national level teams that are grabbing players. You don't get that turnout. But if mentally you're ahead with your signs, with your scouting. We used to scout
Yeah, absolutely.
in tournaments.
Yep,
Think about it.
absolutely.
We would send 2 or 3 parents to go sit in the
Yep,
stands
yep.
and scout
Yep.
to see who their fastest player, who was their best hitter,
Yep.
who was their best pitcher, and maybe even, some dads would even chart pitches like, hey, they do this in this situation, and that gave us such an upper hand. And I just think that too much emphasis is put on the physical part and not the mental prep.
Yeah.
Because you have great players that are physically there, but they're mentally they're not there.
All things being equal, the mental side is the X factor, right?
It is.
And I think even again in the box, it's simple things like if you have a right-handed pitcher and they're lined up on their, so if you're watching them and they're arm side, right? So if they line up on the arm side of the rubber, right?
Right.
So and you're a right-handed batter. A lot of times you have to know that while being a pitcher, it is deceptive. It's more deceptive because the ball it's harder to pick up because it's coming across you, right? So, but usually they're lined up. That angle is coming usually on that inside part of the plate, right? So
If they're to the right side of the rubber, they're probably a lot of times. For one thing, sometimes they're going to have to throw across their body.
Yep, and I guess that's my point. So if you're in the box and you're watching this and you're observing this, usually their angle is going to usually be toward the inside part of the plate. They have to really work hard to get to the outside, right?
Right.
So when they, and a lot of times knowing that, they're not going to do that, right? So they're gonna come across that plate, and if you knowing that, you're looking for that speed, that location to drive the ball. It's all part of like just trying to be ahead. If they're on the opposite side and they're on the glove side, then usually it's going to be a little bit easier for them to
be
outside.
coming in from left to right.
Right. So you and they might be able to hit the outside corner better, but trying to come in
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tougher for them. But that's the pitch you're looking to drive.
Exactly.
So
that was one of my points. Like, where do they set up?
Yeah.
And do they throw across their body?
Yeah.
What's their tendency? Are they going to hunt? Are they looking inside most of the time? If you are, well, then as a hitter, you just want to get off play a little bit.
Right.
Because then that inside
Absolutely.
pitch you can really turn
Right.
on. If you're all tight and you're thinking, oh, this guy's going to throw outside, and you move in, then he's going to saw you off.
Right.
It's just, I mean.
And Tony Gwynn used to say, like, my whole thing was, you have to know what type of hitter you are too, right? So you have to know going into that box, are you a power hitter or are you a contact hitter? And his approach was, I make contact with the baseball. I'm a contact hitter that likes to spray the ball, and my main thing is middle out, and I'll adjust in. And he said, I'm going to own that 1/3 of the plate on the outside corner, and that's where I'm going to live. And he said, and it's easy. That's the hardest because you have to wait to let the ball travel, and you have to really, get your hands in the right spot to do that. Where if it's the middle third or the inside third, he said it's easier to hit those pitches than it is on the outside, and it's a matter of staying and playing and keeping it's the hand adjustment. So keeping your hands out in front on the fastball, and where they need to be, the bottom palm up, up and top palm up, and getting your hands in the right spot. But that mechanical preparation of doing that, once you're able to pick up where the pitches are, getting that advantage of where the pitcher's lining up or where it may be, and seeing that vision, that mechanical side will kick in if you practice it enough. But mentally knowing it might come here or there, and just knowing I need to get my hands in a certain spot, that's sometimes the advantage. So you're combining the physical and mechanical fundamental side of it to mentally having a grasp on things, and then that gives you an advantage if you're able to put that together.
Right. And I mean, Pete Rose, you know, who with all the controversy, but the guy, you know, Charlie Hustle, one of my favorite players of all time, and then, you know, the all-time hit leader, his approach, he said he did 6 things before he got in the box. So he knew when he got in the box what the pitcher was doing. He knew ahead of time, either if they were throwing slow, he would not choke up, be down on the bat because he had enough bat speed, and move up in the box, and he'd move in because he knew he wasn't going to get sawed off. If the pitcher was throwing hard and throwing inside, he'd get in the back of the box, choke up, and get off the plate so he could turn on that pitch, and then just adjust from there. Like again, I mean, that's a mental aspect. I mean, you're physically moving, but that took the thought process of where you're going to stand and how you're going to react on those pitches. And so Gwynn and him and crew was fantastic. I mean, and again, we talked about arm injuries with power, which the big emphasis today. Everybody hitting the long ball.
Right.
Everybody hitting it out.
Chicks dig the long ball.
Yep, there you go. Yep, that's the deal.
That was the commercial. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But the teams that are winning and are probably going to win had that combination of power, but then a solid average. The teams that, you know, that are struggling are hitting like 200 or less with runners in scoring position, and a lot of that's a mental aspect because if you're swinging, when you get up and you're just trying to hit the home run and you're living on dying on the home run, you're going to die more than live because you hit a lot more base hits than you'll ever hit home runs.
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison with that. And I mean, there's teams that are being carried this year. Orioles are doing well and leading the league in home runs, but now they're in a playoff chase almost now because of their team average and not hitting with runners in scoring position. You know, they'd be better off getting more base hits than just trying to hit a home run, you know, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes with it's the plate discipline, and I think it's the vision, right? So it's the mental aspect of if you're not seeing the ball well and you're not relaxed and you're not able to pick up a pitch, I don't care how good your mechanics are.
Right.
You know, it's like
if you can't see
if you can't see it,
you're not hitting.
And in order to see it, how do you keep things simple for especially at our age group? It's trying to be relaxed, trying to do this. You know, it's a process over results, and it's just trying to, you know, keep it simple, be easy. You know, take deep breaths. You know, and just try to turn your vision on. Pick up that pitch and have an approach, whether it's middle out. Don't chase bad pitches, right? So be comfortable with 0-2 count or a strike on you. Look for hunt the fastball. If it's not there and the guy's throwing his best pitch, let it go. Let it go in the dirt. Don't chase a 0-0 curveball that's hitting the dirt. Don't chase that pitch.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of times you see the pros, they once they're out of it, they're chasing these pitches, swinging at bad pitches.
And the plate discipline
hurts them.
As high school players.
And once you're behind the count, now the pitcher has a distinct advantage, and now and that's when you're in trouble, right?
Right.
So, and I think if you can try to keep that approach simple, but have that plan of, you know, being comfortable with 2 strikes, being comfortable taking a strike, but if you know you're looking for trying to get that fastball in a certain spot, and you hunt that, you know, I think they have to come across 3 times that plate at some point, right? So most likely you're going to get one, you don't want to miss it, and you're probably going to get one in those 3 strikes. You're probably going to get one, and you don't want to miss that.
Right.
And that's where your preparation comes in, and that's
right. And I tell the young players too that they'll see, you know, they'll say to me, well, how does an MLB guy just take, you know, straight through right down the middle? I said, well, they're guessing pitches a lot of times. So they're guessing and looking in a, you know, they break the strike zone down into 9 zones, and they're looking for a ball, a 3-0 or 3-1 count to drive in that specific zone. You would think their approach would be, you know, if it's close, either foul it off. A lot of players don't work on fouling pitches off. We really never did. But if you have a hitting coach, you have a cage set up, you could do that. Say, don't drive it, you know, foul balls off, and then work on driving a strike. And I think they do, meaning at the pro level, maybe college, but the younger players don't. But I don't think there's another part that you could say is physical, but there's also mental, because if you're not willing to foul pitches off,
Yeah.
which is an art,
Yep,
just
absolutely.
like bunting in a
Yep.
way. If you're not willing to do that,
Yeah.
you're really putting yourself at a deficit once you get in the box.
Absolutely.
Especially anything close, low outside, that'll be a pitcher's pitch. If it's close, foul it off. Eventually make them get frustrated to get it
Right.
into a zone where that you're comfortable that you can
Right.
drive the ball.
Right.
And that's a lost art, really, as is bunting. It.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think also back to the mental side, I think one of the big things, like as far as being out of control as much as you can to be comfortable, it's and as I said before, I always say, even when I used to coach hockey, it used to be effort and attitude, right? So attitude, I think the main thing is to try to stay as positive as you can be, right? I think like tension and anxiety equals poison, right? So as a player in that box, or when you're on deck, or if you're on deck or in the box or in the dugout or going to the box, you have to stay positive, right? So and it's always the next pitch. So you never want to get so anxious or so tense. You're not going to perform. You're not going to see the ball well. It's a recipe for disaster. But if you can stay positive, and again, it's the process of results. Keep what you've learned during, everything you've learned physically, take that into the box, stay as positive as possible, keep it simple. I think they're the approaches that you have to remember, and try not to get caught up on, I'm 0 for 2, I'm 0 for 3, I'm 0 for 4. It just, every pitch, just try to refocus, get a deep breath, and try to just stay as positive as you can, and keep that tension and anxiety as far away from you as possible.
So when a pitcher's dominating the game, and at different levels, you'll see batters foul a lot of pitches off. You get the pitch count up. I don't care how good they are. Eventually, they're going to have to come out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys, or a lot of hitters, even in softball too, they'll take pitches. If you can foul them off, for one thing, swinging and even fouling the ball versus missing it mentally is telling you, okay, I was right there. I just missed it. When you're taking a lot of pitches, and if you're taking strikes and you're not swinging, you're getting more, I would say, less aggressive than being aggressive. So they one of the big mental aspects of hitting is good hitters are aggressive. Now, aggressive in the strike zone, but yet aggressive. And you're not going to be a good hitter if you don't swing the bat.
Right.
So it's like every strike or every opportunity not taken is a missed opportunity.
Right.
So a lot of hitters, I tell players all the time, I'm not training you to walk.
Right.
I'm training you to hit.
Right.
So to be a good hitter, preparation with your practice time, your tee time, front toss, etc., and BP, but your approach has to be, if it's in the zone and you see it, attack it, see it and hit it. I'm not real big on that yes, no, and all this stuff. You only have that split fraction of a second, and if it's there and you can hit it, attack the ball.
Right.
And sometimes, Pedro Guerrero, man, he was, wild man with the bat swinging. He swung at everything, but he was a good hitter because he was aggressive.
Yeah.
There's not too many. I can't say you can't be a patient hitter and have strike zone savvy, okay? Because having that strike zone knowledge and being able to do that and stick to it mentally, again, if you've got good strike zone discipline, you should be a really good hitter.
Yeah, and I think Barry Bonds I remember watching something with him one time, and even though he's very aggressive, but I think he had very good plate discipline too. He walked like 200 times. I mean, first of all, they would intentionally walk him a lot, but he was able to use the plate discipline to his advantage, where a lot of umpires, they would give him the benefit on close calls because he was very good at knowing the strike zone, and he would work that plate discipline into his advantage to be able to get a ball that he could drive, and he would get that one pitch and he would not miss that pitch. But a lot of times, if you know the strike zone and you have command of the strike zone, you're comfortable with letting one go by. But you know that they're eventually going to have to come in a little bit, and then you don't want to miss that pitch. So you can use that plate discipline to your advantage sometimes if you're comfortable in the 0-1 count or a 1-2 count.
Right.
But you do, part of that is that's over time getting in the box enough to learn that and to have that tendency. And if you're good at that, some players, they can try to get the pitch they want. Like Ted Williams, I think he had a chart behind them, and it was like where it was total, like low and outside, low and away. But like the ones that were in, middle in, it was like, it was 400 hitter.
Right.
So he was trying to work the pitch to get into that zone.
To make them come
inside.
Right.
Yep.
And it's funny, too, because, and we've talked about this, especially when we were coaching and playing, that a hitter that has good strike zone discipline, and the umpire picks up on that,
Yep.
you get the close call.
100%.
You get
Yep.
them. And if you're a high average hitter, you get them.
Correct.
So there's a whole nother mental aspect.
Yep.
Now you're controlling the umpire.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that is something that everybody would cherish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you are a good, disciplined strike zone hitter, and even in a tournament, you might have that umpire in the beginning of the tournament, and 5th, 6th, 7 games in, by the last day, he saw you hit well and have good strike zone discipline, you're going to get that call.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. And that's how the good pitchers get it, too.
Yep.
They can pick their little poise
absolutely.
around the plate, and they'll get that call because they throw a lot of strikes.
And the catcher could help them out tremendously. If you have a really good framing catcher or a catcher, it's unbelievable. There's
just turning and how they receive the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is big.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay, Gary, so let's talk about the physical side of hitting. And, naturally, we would want to tell all the athletes to work out and do a baseball workout. I think naturally we're going to say, go to the doctor, get a physical, make sure you're healthy, get everything checked, your heart, etc. And then I would get with a good personal trainer that can focus on baseball type exercises. We used to run everybody a lot, and I think a lot of it was more distance running, to where now, if you think about a baseball player in general, and even football, most of that is just sprints and quick twitch muscles, like stealing bases, catching a line drive in the gap, running down a fly ball for the outfielders. It's all sprints. I know that the pitchers still do distance work. They still do, but not to the extent that it used to be done. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But again, is that getting back to the Tommy John thing? I don't know what distance running or doing distance work would have to do with that part of it. But again, people ask all the time, why are all these kids? But I still get back to overthrowing and throwing too hard. So the physical aspect of it, to have a good trainer that understands the baseball movements, and you think about the catcher's position, I could see them doing a lot of leg work, squats, but also maybe clean, power cleans, and also like box jumping, because of that explosive move to come up and forward to make that throw. And then pitchers, most of your field players, outside of your pitcher and your catcher, all want to be faster, and sprint and quickly get there. Towards the endurance part, now your pitchers and catchers, you think every single ball that the pitcher throws versus the fielders, it's not even close. And the pitcher's going to throw the most, because balls that are fouled off or hit, the catcher's not always throwing back,
Right.
So now foul balls possibly, but every ball that the pitcher throws, the catcher's not throwing back. But those two positions have to have great flexibility, and then great arm strength. And if you don't, and then you could be lifting wrong. And throwing, you're using more tricep than anything. So people are doing a lot of bicep work. It's almost counterproductive to doing shoulder and tricep work for throwing. And I think stretching, we used to talk about that. And I had one coach tell me, I used to tell everybody, we do a seminar, talk to players and coaches, and he'd say, do you throw to loosen up and stretch, or do you stretch and then throw? And when you get to the field, how many players get their glove and start throwing? Mm-hmm. to warm up.
Yeah.
You stretch first to warm up and then throw.
Yeah.
And that's almost a lost art. And then I wonder if that is also leading to more arm injuries. But if you go to out to watch any pro game, if you get out there early enough, they're out there for hour or 2 hours, and there's a couple trainers going around stretching every player out, stretching their legs out, their arms. They're using bands, doing a lot of band work and all before the game with stretching. So I think that part on the physical part, if you're limber and your muscles are stretched out, you can get maximum effort out of them. If they're tight and they're not stretched out, you're not going to get maximum effort.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. We have our players usually have a routine. So most of them, almost all of them, do the band work, right? So they'll stretch out. They'll have their own routine. They go to the outfield. They do that. They have their band work and they have their weighted balls. So and before they even start throwing, so they will get into those routines. And I think a lot of it is specialized. So if you're a catcher, if you're a pitcher, I mean, most people at our level, they have their own hitting coach. They have someone like you that's going to work with them hitting. If it's a catcher, they have their own catching guy that's going to teach.
The pitching
coach is going to have their own thing, and a lot of that you're going to have your arm care with that, hopefully, and you're going to have. Usually, sometimes what they have to work on is like the agility, the agility and quickness, right? So, and that's something that they don't do enough of, I think, because there is a lot of it's quick burst here or there. Even the infield footwork, pitchers covering, it's a lot that goes into that. But yeah, there's a lot they have to cover, just from a nutritional standpoint, and being ready. So like using that same warm-up technique, not only when you get to the field, but when you're practicing beforehand and even after the arm care.
Right.
So there's a lot that has to go into it to stay healthy. And they're playing year-round now too. That's a big difference too versus when. Yeah. And
if you're not working out, you're going to get injuries from repetitive motion.
Correct.
Yep. So if you're not stretching and you're not working different muscle groups that support what those muscles are doing, you're going to have a lot of injuries.
And they encourage two sports, right? So they encourage two sports to try to break that up, to use different muscles.
Let your body be multifaceted.
But the reality of it is that if you're not playing year-round, you're playing another sport, and someone's doing it year-round, they're getting a competitive advantage over you because you might be playing, say you play hockey, and that starts usually in July. And my son had battled with this, whether he was going to play two sports, and he played hockey at a very high level, and hockey season would start in the middle of July. But guess what? That's the middle of baseball season.
Baseball.
And hockey goes to basically St. Patrick's Day. So you're taking, if someone's playing baseball at that time, they're getting a complete advantage of all those months of training where you're picking up and try to cross chaining in February, trying to play in March. Right. And now while that long term may be beneficial as far as your muscles and taking time off and developing other muscles and giving time to rest, at the same time, if someone is training properly and they are getting the work in, it's much harder to come in and pick up and try to hit a baseball when you haven't swung in 6 months.
Sure.
Right. So, or even pitch or whatever. So there's two schools of thought. While they encourage the two sports, but the reality of it is, like my son, he had to pick one, and then he's focusing on baseball full time, and But you have to, and everyone has a different trainer. So you have to have if you have a pitcher, you have to work out, and you have to make sure you have the right arm care, and you have to. All that goes into, and it's even aftercare. Even after you get done throwing in the game, you have to have your same routine.
Yeah, and ice it down or whatever they're.
Whether some do sauna treatment, some do. There's so much that goes into it, but you have to stay on that routine in order to stay healthy.
Right.
And that goes into pitch counts. That goes into not being abused by your coach. That's getting proper rest, following the guidelines. I mean,
nutrition.
There's so much that goes into that to try to keep the players healthy. And again,
but the dedicated players, as you know, the ones that really want it, they're doing it.
Right.
And I try to tell players all the time, just even getting extra T work in. The athletes that are playing several sports, if you're only going to play one, well, if you do even 25 swings a day, and you do that for 30 days when they're at wrestling or basketball or football or whatever these other athletes are doing, that's like 750 swings more a month.
Right.
That you are ahead of them
Right.
by the time the season starts.
Right.
And winter time, people always ask me, when's your busiest time? Is it spring, summer? No, that's when everybody's playing. My
Right.
busy time is like from November on.
Right.
Because the players that are smart are training all winter, working out, training, getting in better shape, eating well, and then they're working with a hitting coach to work on any of their flaws or their mechanical flaws.
Right.
And then a lot of people ask me, are you more of do you teach more rotational? Are you a rotational guy? Or are you more of a linear, or are you a combination? And I'm a combination, meaning stride, drive. So there's a lot of linear. The rotational part really is your swing. If you go back to being a base hitter, where you're a big, powerful guy, where you don't have to drive and you can still hit the ball a ton, a lot of them are just rotational, where it's like squish the bug, like back in the
Right.
day that they were teaching.
Right.
But we were talking about Ted Williams earlier, and he was a stride drive guy,
Right.
which is so funny because we talk about throwing a punch and throwing a ball. A pitcher, they stride and then they drive with their back leg. When you crow hop from the outfield, the crow hop's designed to put velocity and power in your throw. So when you come up, what do? You stride and then you drive hard with your backside. Infield, you slide step and then fire. So they're all stride drive designed. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be a successful hitting coach, you take a guy my size versus a guy your size, you could be still rotational because you're big, you got the power and the weight to drive the ball. Whereas somebody my size, if I want to drive the ball like Altuve, you watch him, even though he scissors, he still drives that backside. And now, again, we say he's a unicorn because, yeah, he's 5'6", like my height, and still has the ability to hit probably 20, 25 home runs a year. So, but most hitters that are really driving the ball are stride drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw the video. So, and it was encouraging because that's what you're teaching, right? With Ted Williams.
Yes.
And the thing is somewhere along the way they were teaching squish the bug, and there were
other theories.
And there was other theories, right? But at the end of the day, we're back to one of the greatest hitters of all time. Why do we get away from that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
and I even had some video of Babe Ruth. And he was a stride drive, and what we call slot, getting the elbow into the side.
Yep.
He was doing that back then, and that was amazing to see. I don't think they knew or emulated that. It's just that those guys back then, the best players, did the correct mechanics.
right.
And then here you go today, for the most part, like Judge. I mean, he's a freak, 6'8", but you look at his mechanics. He's in slot. He gets the bat on plane quick, takes it through the zone, doesn't move his head. Okay, and I want to talk about that. So the number one reason, just through statistics and analytical studies, the number one reason to miss the ball is to move the head. Mm-hmm. So we call it pulling your head, but it's really eye movement. Even if you have a player that hits off the tee and they don't leave their eye at the back or the top of the baseball when they're hitting the ball off the tee, and they move their eyes but leave their head still, they'll miss-hit the ball off the tee. The tendency is when you move your eyes, you also look up. And since, we were infants, when you looked up, a lot of times you pulled your hands down because if you couldn't see something, you pull your hands down to see. Well, that subconscious movement of when you pick your head up, you drop your hands. So even the pros, you're talking about them missing balls, strike three, popping up, hitting weak fly balls. If they're pulling their head and they're looking up to see the ball fly, which is a really natural human tendency to want to do, because the thrill of the hit is seeing it go.
Right.
Well, you can watch. Anybody that's slumping, for the most part,
It's so true. Like I'll go back and I'm watching the Oriole game or I'm watching the college game or whatever. I watch Game Changer. Watch I'm scouting all the kids of my age, they're 15 years old. Almost every time when they're missing, if you slow it down, you can just see the head, the eyes moving here and coming off the ball, and they're not getting that late movement.
Right.
So they're just totally missing it, especially if it's a late movement ball, and it's just enough that they're missing. And the strikeouts happen almost all the time because of that.
Yeah, and they're always under the ball too.
Yep.
You never hardly see on a breaking ball. You'll see them be over it if it really drops severely. But 99% of the swings on strikeouts, they're under. They've dropped their hands and they're under the ball. And so the top of the ball theory is really good because if you do focus on it, and I work on this a lot with my female softball players because their pitchers throw a ball they call a rise ball, which is supposed to extreme backspin and rises. And if you're not looking at the top of that ball, it is virtually impossible almost. You're lucky if you foul that ball off or even nick it. So, and they're only throwing from like 40, 45 feet. And the reaction time at a female pitcher throwing, I think in the mid to high 60s at 45 feet is equivalent to in the 90s reaction speed time in baseball. So even though the ball's a little bit bigger, you really got to be on your game.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of parents will ask me about timing and how do you teach timing. And the simplest way to start off is, even with a young player, is that as the ball is being released, your stride foot, your front foot has got to be on the ground. Okay, it should be as they're letting the ball go. I should say, I don't know about being on the ground. I should say, as they're letting the ball go, you should be striding, and then by the time the ball's there, your foot should be on the ground, and then you can hit the ball. If you're doing it later than that, you're going to be late, or the ball's almost going to be by the time you swing. So as you're releasing the ball, your foot should be almost touching the ground right at that point.
And I think, going back to what we talked about earlier, I think part of that preparation for that starts on the on-deck circle too, right? So
well, we say even in the hole.
Yeah, in the hole. Even
because
in the hole.
you should have 2 full at-bats mentally before you get in the box.
Right.
And that's something I really want to stress with young players. So when you're in the hole, before you're even in the box, you don't have to take swings. Even if you just take no swings and just do your right. motion of going through, so in case people are around or whatever, you clear a spot at, then you can swing. But you should try to get 2 at bats if you're watching the pitching, and you should be thinking again about sequence. What's his tendency,
right.
or what's her tendency if you're playing softball with 2 strikes, or like I said, are they pitching backwards? Are they starting off all the time with a breaking ball? Well, if they are, and you hit the breaking ball, then sit on
right.
it. But most pitchers, and even my female pitchers, they say they try to groove a strike right off the bat, because a lot of hitters. Adley Rutschman's one. There's a couple guys in the Orioles, they refused at the first pitch, and I'm thinking, they throw the first pitch in there and it's a nice fastball. Then go ahead and cook it.
Right.
I mean, I'd be all over it. Just
right.
give it a ride. Don't why get in the hole?
Yeah, I think a 0-0 count, you're aggressive, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if they're throwing their best pitch,
that's hurt him this year.
Yeah, if they're throwing their best pitch and it's not something you're looking for, and then you can let it go.
Sure.
But I think you're hunting fastballs, especially if it's 0-0 count.
Yeah.
And I think as far as the timing, as a pitcher, that's your whole goal, is to disrupt that time, right? So it's the complete opposite.
Yep.
And that's, you have to know that, as a pitcher as well and a batter. But I think the preparation does start, like you said, in the hole, or whether you're charting the pitches as a pitcher, or if you're a batter, it starts in the hole. And I think that knowing when to lift that front foot and just getting that timing down is really part of that mental preparation as well.
Right. And the less movement, in the years I've been teaching and watching, the less movement normally in your swing, the more successful you're going to be. So we talk about quiet hands, but there's some MLB guys that have big leg kicks. Mm-hmm. The problem is you can't swing until that front foot hits the ground. Mm-hmm. So to have that big leg kick is detrimental unless you can either hover or ride it and then and get that foot down before you swing. But with milliseconds to get that done, it's mm-hmm. to me a recipe for disaster. Yep. I don't teach big leg kick. Just what we say, short, too long, yep. through. So a short, quick, a short swing, a long swing is slow, and then staying inside the baseball. A lot of hitters, and young hitters don't even know what that means. But you don't want the knob of the bat to get out beyond the ball. You want to stay inside the pitched ball so that you can pull your hands in, or pull them in to a point where you can barrel the ball up. And I watched a couple MLB guys talk, and had a smaller guy, a bigger guy like you and I. And the little guy said, it's my job just to get on base, to work the count, to try to get the pitch count up, to wear the starter out, and to put the ball in play and to get on. It's his job to get up and barrel the ball up and drive me in. And that's how we think. But everybody's got to barrel the ball up.
Right.
Because without doing that, no matter what your size or where you are in the order, you are cutting back the opportunity for you to get a hit by hitting the ball anywhere but in the compression or in the barrel of the bat. So, you cap, you're hitting it off the end. You might get a hit a weak ground ball, beat it out, but odds are that's not going to go your way. Right. So you barrel the ball up, it's going to get to the infield faster. Hit the ball in the gap, you can take an extra base and then set up for, your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guy to drive you in. Let's talk about positioning, where you want to be in the box, versus why some guys want to be, in the front of the box, back of the box. And we talked earlier about Pete Rose's approach. But I see young players with their front foot even at the front of the plate or past. And the closer you are to the pitcher, the faster your hands have to be,
right.
And the quicker your decision.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Right. And even if we're talking about one of those milliseconds, and you get in the back of the box, I'm sitting back there 99% of the time. Now, if we have somebody all they're doing is throwing off speed, and they can't throw hard, okay, well then that's the time to get up in the box.
Right.
But I see college kids, even junior college, those pitchers are still throwing near 90 in junior college. They didn't everybody goes, oh no, they're throwing. Usually it's their grades or they didn't get scouted well, but there's plenty of guys that play junior college and then go play 4-year ball and then get drafted. So, but I see those guys up in the front of the box and I'm thinking, why are you doing that? You're giving the pitcher such an advantage.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right.
So, get in the back of the box, get off the plate, gives yourself a lot more opportunity to be successful.
Right. Which question? So, like Todd Helton again, he was the calm aggressive. So he had a calm body, aggressive mindset. But what's your theory? Like, as far as your, and again, I talked about, especially about the vision, right? Seeing the vision, better see the ball from mental approach. What about your head? And obviously you want to keep your eyes on the ball, but you want to have little movement because you don't want your head moving up and down, changing planes or where
I got a good story about that. Okay. So I'd come up with a saying called shoulder to shoulder, head does not move. And it's like I shoot a bow and you have anchor points to teach repetitive, correct motion. So in hitting, we talk about chin to the front shoulder, and then it's a good place to sit it because you're not going to move it. Leave it sit there. And then at contact, you should be watching the ball from the back shoulder, which tells you your head didn't move. But if you watch hitters, a lot of them will start in this position, but as they swing, their head's up. So when your head comes up, subconsciously you drop your hands. And that is a big point. So I have several videos of MLB players, especially the ones that are hitting the best, starting here, finishing there. So one of my best hitters, I won't say his name because we always tease about it, but he was probably my best male hitter ever, and he didn't want to do it. He was like, I'd rather just have my head up. He was a teenager, wanted to buck the system. I started getting him to do it. He hit fantastic. He goes to college and come back and he was biting his shirt with putting his shirt in his mouth in the front, and I was like, what are you doing? He goes, they don't want us to move our heads, so they tell us to bite our shirt. And I wanted to hit him. I was like, I've been preaching this to you for months. Put your chin on your front shoulder and finish on your back, and then you ain't got to bite your shirt. I mean, this was insane to me, And so we talked about that, and eventually did it. And he got scouted from the Phillies and had a good career. He just, his physical and mental prep, I mean, it was good, but a lot of it too is your drive, and I wrote a book and stuff, and we talk about desire and drive and the difference. And most players, if you're playing, even if you're a little kid, you're dreaming about playing, for your favorite pro team. That's great. Everybody has that desire, to be great and to be famous, right? If you're playing and you love the game, and whatever sport it is, it doesn't matter. But how many people have the drive and the work ethic to get there? And that's what, 4 out of every million players that play baseball at each age group, 4 out of every million make it to the MLB.
Yeah.
That's the statistics. You probably get a better chance of getting hit by lightning or something crazy. Yet those are the guys that had the talent, and there's some luck involved in catching breaks, no doubt. But they had the drive and the work ethic to get there. And Jeter used to say there were many, many teams that he was on, even when he played for the Yankees, that there were years he was not the best player.
Right.
He was just willing to outwork his opponent.
Right.
And, I probably played beyond my ability because of that. I played independently ball in Florida. And there was ex-major league players on my team. And Johnny Oates' nephew was our catcher, and Will McEnany was one of our pitchers. He had pitched the last out of a World Series in '76. And here I'm playing ball with these guys, but I was in the gym all winter, every day. A lot of them came in out of shape, and my mental and physical preparation was better than most of theirs. Yet they were way more talented than me. So I didn't play that long, but the point was my drive and determination got me there. And I see players now, it seems like, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's really high. Probably 90% of my players, parents want it more than they do. And that's a formula for disaster, because if the parents want it more, the player's not going to. They're not going to perform. They're only there to please their parents.
Right.
Parents need to step back. Let the players fail when they're young.
Right.
Let them fail and feel that anguish and that failure, because that's what life is.
Right.
If you don't put the time and work in, you're most likely not going to be successful.
Right.
I mean, that's just how life is. So I had a parent lately, and I commended him. He's going to coach his son's team. He told him he could take a break. He was playing soccer, and the son came back to practice, and the father's and he was struggling, getting real upset. I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You haven't been training." He said, "My father said I could take a break." He said, "I told you could take a break, but not walk away completely." He said, "So I let you go."
Yeah.
And he said, "Now how's it feel?" I said, "Well, that's very commendable from your father to be able to do that."
Right.
And parents need to step back and let these players
Right.
fail when they're young. And if they love the game and they really want to be good, then they'll go, "Well, I don't like the way this feels. I don't want to do this again." And they'll start putting the time in.
Right.
And the same thing with my softball players. I have one little girl who's really talented, but doesn't want to work. Told her parents, let her go. She's 9.
Right.
Let's let her fail.
Right.
Let's let her struggle. And then if she doesn't like it and she wants to be good, she'll put the time in.
Right.
If you keep pushing her and carrying her, you're not going to be there eventually.
Right.
They're going to become adults. And the chances of playing pro are, I don't know what the actual percentage is, 4 out of a million, but it's 0.00004 somewhere that, it's, the chances are slim. So, but in life,
sports,
if you have work ethic, you'll be successful.
Yeah, I mean, talent doesn't always win when talent doesn't work hard either. I mean, it does.
Yes.
People want to succeed, but you don't want to if you don't want to do what you have to do to succeed. That's the hard part, right? And the thing is, you might do all that work and all that hard work, and you still may not be successful. But you're never going to be successful unless you put the time in and do the work. And that's with anything.
Yeah, and I tell them all the time, if they're willing to work hard as a young player, that'll carry them through life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people think, you're a hitting coach. Yeah, but I'm almost like a life coach, because teaching work ethic and a positive attitude will carry you a long way.
Right.
Through sports, through life, through your education, through whatever profession you pick. And you were a prime example. I mean, you were a really good athlete, played at Calvert Hall, which is one of the top baseball schools here in Maryland. And were very good, and had a great work ethic, and you pitched, you hit well. I mean, you were on your way to playing D1, and then tell everybody what happened.
Yeah, that was a knee injury.
Yeah.
Playing soccer.
And just clowned around playing.
Yeah.
And,
tore ACL and
yep.
MCL and meniscus at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was disastrous.
Yeah.
But then you went on, because of your work ethic, and your education and became a successful attorney. And again, that carries you into it. You know, me, I have a couple businesses and some other things, and my work ethic has got me where I am, no doubt. I mean, it wasn't talent per se. You know,
It keeps you disciplined,
desire.
and that discipline and will help carry you, you know, and mold you throughout what you do and the decisions you make and the paths you take in life. And it is there are life lessons through baseball. That's why I love baseball. You know what I mean? I think it's the beauty of it, and any sport really. But I just there's something about baseball, right? And I just think. You know, those and baseball being a failure sport, I agree with you. You have to fail at an early age in order to get better. That's how you get better, right? You fail to work harder to get better, to try to correct things, to try to get that process as complete as possible in order to have success. And that's in life in general. I mean, on a daily basis, you know, you're going to be confronted with, you know, things that don't go your way, and you have to be able to adjust.
Every day.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Right.
Yeah. And the biggest thing too, you know, I tell parents, I said, look, 30%, if you can hit a baseball at the MLB level and have a 30% average, which is 300, and you do it for 10 years, you're in the Hall of Fame. You're one of the best players ever.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do in life 30% of the time and be successful.
It's true.
Nothing. I mean, there's nothing. So.
And it's hard. I mean, even like Deion Sanders, he said he played two-sport athlete, right? And he's a Hall of Fame football player. He said the hardest thing to do was hit a baseball.
Right.
And it takes a
Well,
lot of
listen,
work.
we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you for
It was
having me.
great.
Yeah,
Good time. Take care.
Yep. Thank you, guys.